Most chess players are surprised to learn that grandmasters actually think less, not more, when given a random position. The reason is simple. We exactly know what to search for. And in this video, I want to show you what I'm searching for when I get a position I got from a student, and how I think about that position for a blitz game, for a rapid game, or for a classical game. So step by step, you learn how to think like a grandmaster, and you can compare your own thinking to my thinking and hopefully learn something from it. Let's go. Okay, so this is the position Nick, a student from the Simplified Chess Improvement System, inquired about. And his question was, how do I find a plan? How do I come up with a move when I look at a position like that? The video will be the most effective for you guys at home if you take 5 seconds right now to think what you would play in a blitz game. Let's go. Okay, what was your move? Make sure that you have it. Now I'll spoil what I am thinking about. So when I play a blitz game, I really focus on what matters most. So the first question I have is anything hanging? I need to look for opponent's threats. In that position, we can see that the pawn on h6 is attacked twice and only defended once. So h6 is hanging. I take a note in my head. The second question I go after is, can I take something? Is there something hanging from my opponent? Looking over here, nope, there's nothing I can do. There's no easy tactical win, so that's super important. And now when I got through these two questions, I just want to find a simple move that either stops their threat or, well, does what I want to do, capture piece or whatever. Or if there is no threat from my opponent, there is no piece to be captured, I just want to come up with a logical move. In this position, as we know, there is a threat. So I want to come up with a logical move that stops that threat. Two things come to mind. As king to h7, simply protecting that pawn again, or my preferred move, knight to f4. I put my knight on a nice square and I block the queen's access to h6. That's all I'm going to think about. Obviously, in a blitz game, it's going to be quick, but that's what my mind tries to do in the 5 seconds I have to come up with a move. So in a blitz game, I would simply go knight to f4 because I think this is more logical, more aggressive, and just a useful move. But king h7 is also fine. So all you have to do, and this is even applying to Grandmaster level, when you play a blitz game, is checking for your opponent's threat, shortly seeing if you can capture anything, and then playing a what I call good enough move that either stops the threat or, well, does your tactical idea. If there is none of it, just a logical move. That's all you gotta do. Knight f4 or king h7, very nice for a blitz game. Let's move on to the rapid game. If you want to test yourself, then make sure to stop the video, set a timer for 1 minute. That's roughly the time you can spend in a rapid game realistically. And then think about the position. Again, what would you play and why? Where is your mind going? What are you calculating? Go. Okay, so if we have a minute, it is drastically more than 5 seconds. But the thought process shouldn't be way different. We just can look a little bit more on every step along the way. For example, first we look at the threat, right? Knight takes h6 is a threat. We can maybe think about, well, is there another way than blocking or going king h7 to stop that threat? Not that easy to find that right now, so I would still have these two ideas. Then for my own tactical ideas, I'm not only looking at immediate captures or pieces that are hanging, but I'm also looking at checks. So I have 3 different checks at my availability. They don't look like they are doing much at the moment, to be very honest, but at least I want to notice them and shortly think about them. Once I did that, I then come up with my favorite candidate moves. And I try to go a little bit deeper. Like in Blitz, we're just, oh, candidate move, knight f4 looks good, doesn't hang anything, boom, we play it, right? In Rapid, we can go a little bit deeper. So what I would think is, for example, for a move like knight f4, I would think, what is White's idea in this position? 2 things come to mind for me, which is knight to e2, trying to open up the queen again to h6 and also exchange our strong knight on f4, or trying to play h5 with the idea to force my bishop to take on f5. Again, we don't have a lot of time, so my thinking would be h5, oh, bishop h7 looks pretty decent. I can decide to take at some point on f5, but right now I don't want to do that. And then the second thing I would think about is knight to e2 and trying to really get rid of this knight. If I just trade, I'm not super happy because I traded my strong knight on f4 against a knight that wasn't that active. But I might see in a rapid game, oh, there's bishop takes f5. Now the knight is not on g3, so the knight can't take. So the bishop has to take. And now I do something like queen b6, for example, and this looks pretty good. Now this is super important. This line, we will see that later on. We can calculate that way deeper. But if we're playing a rapid game, we simply don't have the time. Even on Grandmaster level, I can't go until the very end of such a line. I just need to also use my intuition, right? Here, I'm no material down. My pieces look more active. And especially like this bishop, the king looks a little bit shaky. So this looks good. And that's enough for a rapid game. So for example, knight f4 actually looks pretty nice. What I might still do is, I mentioned these moves, giving a check, right? Queen b6, king f1. Did that change anything? I'm not 100% sure, but I also don't understand why I should give that check. I could, after all, also play knight f4 first, and maybe after the knight here, I can give a check, right? So if I'm not sure in a rapid game, I'm just going for the most logical move. And again, I'm going for knight f4. If I have a minute thinking like that, like I just explained, same process, just a little bit more nuance in every single step along the way. And I'm going knight f4, and I'm pretty happy with that decision. And now let's get more sophisticated because we talk about the classical game. So in a classical game, hopefully we still have more time. Now I know some students of mine, they are all the time in time trouble. We are working on that. And then you simply have to use the same process you would use in a blitz or a rapid game because you don't have that much time left. But if instead you have the time, let's say you have 45 minutes, 50 minutes left on your clock, and you're saying, okay, this is an important moment, I want to go a little bit deeper. Then I'd say you have roughly 10 minutes to really go deep into this position and try to figure out the subtleties, right? Do we really want to play knight f4? Is there maybe something we haven't found yet in our kind of very simple way of thinking about the position? Is there something hidden? Can we somehow maybe even leave the pawn on h6 hanging, right? There's so many more things that we can consider. If you want to test yourself, you can stop the video right here, put a timer of 10 minutes and just write down everything that you think about, and then you can compare it with what I'm going to tell. Okay, so spoiler alert, now let's talk about the classical game. Again, this is a concept that many get wrong because they think you need to somehow completely think differently during a classical game compared to blitz or rapid. That's not true. The process stays the same. It's just that we can put more nuance in every step along the way. So first, we're looking, is anything hanging? In classical games, you can expand that concept and say, is there a threat, right? Maybe there is a positional threat. For example, you could think that, oh, pushing h5 and pushing that bishop away or forcing me to take on f5 could be called a threat. It's like a positional idea that white is looking forward to. We're not losing something, but again, that could be important. So we can note that. Second thing, as we did already for the rapid, we can now really consider moves like queen b6, queen a7, bishop c5. We can spend a little bit more time understanding or trying to understand, is there any nuance in between those moves? And then last but not least, in every line you calculate, so when you come up with the candidate moves, let's say we have knight f4, we have king h7, let's put bishop c5 in there, and then these two checks maybe, we can then start calculating. And where do you start? That's the most important thing. So I like starting with the concrete moves, so moves that you can get to a result pretty quickly. Checks, captures, threats is one idea that is floating around a lot, so you can use that. And then also important is when we have a move like knight to f4, that we are pretty happy with, okay? We always need to compare a move that we're calculating to knight f4. If it's clear, and this is important, I hope you get that. If it's clear that knight f4 is better than a certain move that we're calculating, we just stop calculating the other move. Because, well, why would we do something that is clearly worse than something that we already saw, right? So, or kind of North Star is the easy moves, knight f4 or king h7. If we see anything, we calculate it and we're like, no, I like this less, we just scratch it. We don't want to waste time. So the first thing I'm doing in a classical game in terms of calculation is going deeper in knight f4. Knight f4, I like knight e2 as an idea for white. I'm going bishop takes f5. Again, the idea is mainly that the knight is not going to capture on f5. So I'm kind of eliminating a good square for white. The pawn is taking back. There is also this pawn. To me, it looks more logical to take with that pawn. I don't see a huge difference. So I'll just go for this line. And now here I have different ideas, but I think I would still go queen b6. Looks very logical to activate the queen. I'm also trying to avoid the white queen to go on e3. Any move that is not king f1 looks very bad because the queen is coming in, right? So king f1. Now I'm going bishop to b4. Again, this is an aggressive move. I can calculate this very quickly because these are aggressive, concrete moves. Captures, attacks, checks, right? All of these things. So now I'm thinking, okay, where is the queen going, right? Because if the queen goes, important to note that there is not a check. If the queen goes all the way in, it looks pretty dangerous for white. I have this candidate move, for example, trying to give a checkmate. That might actually work. So I'm trying to calculate, right? So I'm going into these lines and I'm not trying to overwhelm you with all the lines possible in this position. But I definitely think that this, giving a check, for example, the bishop is dropping back and now we have a threat on f2. So I'm trying to go deeper and deeper to understand, do I really like this whole line that I've calculated? In the rapid game, I have to take a decision at some point and just saying, okay, this looks good. In a classical game, I can try to get to a real proper solution. Like, is this really good, right? Not just feeling, but is this really good? Yes or no. So something else I might do is check, king away, bishop b4. What is happening if the white queen goes here? For example, in this position, I have knight d3. I'm forking the queen and trying to give queen f2 checkmate. So this looks very good as well. And so I could actually just say, well, this looks very good. I'm going to play knight f4. And there is one fork in the road that is not very clear. So now we're, let's say, spending 7 minutes. We look at knight f4 and we say, okay, this looks very good. It's maybe not forced checkmate or a forced win, but it looks really, really good. Question is, am I just playing knight f4 or am I looking at something else? And this is really feeling based. There is no hard science for this. For me, if I find a move that is good enough, that I'm pretty sure I'm not risking much, and I like the outcome, I really, in a practical sense, don't see the value of spending more time on other moves. So I think one of the worst quotes a world champion ever said in chess is, I can't remember who it was who said it. Maybe you can let me know in the comments below. But it was something along the lines, if you find a good move, search for a better one. I think that's the most useless quote of a world champion ever in chess because it only applies to very specific positions and it doesn't apply to 99% of chess players. So in a practical sense, I'm going knight to f4. But I realize, or I might realize in a 10-minute game, depending on where my head is at, that queen b6, king f1, knight f4 might be a small difference, or that here I have different other moves like queen c5, queen b4, queen b1. There are different candidate ideas where I'm just giving up this pawn on h6, but instead try to get back another pawn or try to stop that threat in a different way. And this is really then getting into the nitty-gritty. Again, I could think about this, but in a practical sense, I would actually be happy to think, okay, there is queen b6, but I don't need it, so let me just go knight to f4. There are many positions like the one that we have discussed together where actually my decision in a blitz game, in a rapid game, and in a classical game can be the same. And even more important, and that's really what I want you to take away from this video, my process of thinking is the same. The main thing that changes is how sophisticated I can be, how deep I can look into things, and how much I just need to use my intuition and my feeling for saying, okay, that looks good, I can't see everything. So less time we have, more we just go on the super simple, super obvious things. Is anything hanging? Can I capture something? Just play a move. The more time we have, the more we can go into sophisticated ways of thinking. And now I know that some people at home are so used to look at positions with the engine. So I want to do it, and I want to do it with you and explain you what you have to do when you look with the engine and what you have to avoid doing, because there is so much risk when you look with the engine at a position you've played. Okay, let's do it. Okay, so here are the engine suggestions. And now, first thing you will notice is I have 5 different lines open. I do this because I like to see the difference of moves. In general, if you have a position where one move is extremely good and everything else is bad, that means that this is a very, very important position. Now you can see that the difference from the first, so the best move, to the 5th best move is only 0.3. So it's really in human kind of feeling, in human position, in human playing, doesn't matter as much. You can see that the first 4 moves are queen moves. One of them I basically mentioned. I also mentioned queen a7. I did not mention queen b7, queen b8. We will get to that why. And then my move, my decision was knight to f4. So the first question is that a mistake, right? Did I approach this position wrong, or was my calculation wrong? The answer is hell no. Right? I'm a grandmaster, and I'm saying for my level, like, how do I want to play like an engine that is 3,500 rated? That is just impossible, right? So I need to lower my expectations. And if I play knight f4, which is a logical move, which has a better position for black, I'm totally happy even in a classical game. So that's the first thing. Don't obsess about playing the perfect engine line, and then try to understand what's happening. So first thing I'm doing, I'm going through what I calculated and see if I missed anything. So knight to f4. Now we see that there are different moves. King f1, bishop b3, king f2, a4, queen c2. Those are all moves that basically, in my understanding, saying, okay, you are better, I'm just making some move. But those are not moves I need to calculate. I don't need to say, well, I only play knight f4 if I know what to do after bishop b3. Like, what is that move even? I really don't understand what bishop b3 does. And there are many moves that look good for black here. So I don't care about these moves. What I care about is knight e2, because that was my personal feeling. And you can see that bishop takes f5 is a good move right here. So bishop takes f5, g takes f5. Okay. Maybe important to notice that after knight takes f4, we have this pawn on e4, and this looks pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Okay. G takes f5. And now we see that there are different moves again. As queen b6, my move was one of the first moves. Bishop b4 is also very interesting. Now, when I looked at this position myself, I thought bishop b4, I thought queen e3 was a good move. And here you can see why the engine is so good. Because the engine always sees everything that is tactical, everything that is concrete. The computer is better than anyone else. We have this beautiful move queen to d6, attacking the bishop on d1 and threatening bishop c5. And now you see that the engine jumped, right? It's -4 because we win a piece. d1 is hanging, bishop c5 is coming. There's basically no way out for white. So this is very, very good. And this is kind of the concrete things that I might miss because I'm no computer, I'm no genius. I'm just a guy trying to play better chess or trying to help people now to play better chess. So that's okay. I don't have to be harsh on myself. But this is very interesting. But my queen b6, king f1, this is what I thought. Bishop to b4 looks pretty good. Like, we still have an advantage, right? The best move for white apparently is just giving up a full pawn, which we are very happy with. So I'm happy with my calculation. I'm happy with what happened. I can see queen c1, knight d3. Oh, again, there is the c5 idea. But again, we are a pawn up. We are in a better position. We don't need to see everything. What I calculated was pretty good. So I'm very happy with my knight f4 lines. And what I now try to do, so now I understand, okay, what I did was actually pretty good. But why is actually knight f4 not the best move? I'm trying to understand that. I don't like queen b7 or queen b8. They don't make much sense to me. So let's look at queen b6 check. King is going to f1. By the way, f1 is a logical square because g2 is always hit with the check on f4, right? If I'm thinking practically, if I see queen b6 check, if I see that my opponent has to play this move and I can go on f4 with a check, well, now I'm going to choose this line. This looks way more logical in that case. Okay, so check, king to f1, and now there are different moves. Queen c5, queen b4 was kind of something that I could have in mind. But queen b1 I like a lot. Now, why is queen b1 so interesting? We need to understand what was the threat from white. White's threat was taking on h6. This maneuver is stopping the threat without playing knight f4. Because if takes, now this bishop on d1 is hanging. So basically, queen b6 check is a hidden resource stopping white's threat, but doing it with tactical idea. And the second thing that is interesting is that usually white tries to play h5 in these positions because it wants to force me to give up my bishop against the knight. Okay, so we like bishop takes f5 if a pawn has to take. We don't like bishop takes if the knight can take. So here's what happens. Look at this. h5. Now black is taking on f5. So why are we taking now? The knight can take. No, the queen on b1 takes e4. So queen b6 check is actually something I can understand. Queen b6 check is both, followed by queen b1, this is important, is both stopping taking on h6 and threatening taking on f5 because now the knight cannot take back because the pawn on e4 is hanging. Now, do we have to find something like that? No, it's pretty sophisticated. Can we learn from it? Yes, it's very interesting. If I would see everything that I just showed in a game, if I see queen b6 check, queen b1 with these ideas, I will probably go for queen b6 check, queen b1. But that doesn't mean that I need to beat myself up and say I should have seen that. Now again, this is Grandmaster level. So if you at home, you're looking and you're rated below 2000, I imagine, then absolutely not do you have to see that. And then last but not least, we have these moves that are queen a7, queen b8, queen b7. What are these moves? Now you see that queen b8, the computer is saying king f1, king g2, whatever. So king f1 and then queen b1. Okay, this we can understand is the same position. But why queen b8? Why can white not take here? Right? So we need to think ourselves. We need to lead the computer. We need to lead the engine. We don't need to be a slave, but kind of use our own thinking to see and interact with the computer. Okay, takes. I don't understand. Queen b6. Okay. And now queen d4. Okay, so I went into these lines and now I see that this is hanging, and this is hanging. It's still not as obvious to me that we had to sacrifice that pawn or sacrificing that pawn is so good. But now I can understand, okay, there is a concrete idea behind it. But again, I can use my experience in saying, well, it really doesn't make sense from a practical standpoint. Like no Grandmaster, and I can assure you that, will think of queen b8, queen b7, or queen a7 if you have queen b6. Because queen b6 is a check, and it allows for this, and it allows to stay on this diagonal. So it is just simply better than queen b8 or queen b7 or queen a7. And all of these other moves only work because of weird calculations from the computer. So it's super important when you're looking at the position with the computer. Think first on your own. Come up with ideas. See the threats. See the ideas. See the general plans. what you want to do. Then compare your thinking with the computer, okay? Go through the lines that you have thought about. See if anything big you missed. Be okay with missing concrete things because, well, the computer is always going to be better at this. And last but not least, don't always take the word from the computer as like the complete truth, because sometimes the computer just sees weird moves that we would never, ever, ever in our whole life even think about. And then we just exclude that. So my learning from this position is knight f4 is a very good move. But if we see everything, we can play queen b6 check, king moves, and queen to b1. And this is an even more precise way to put pressure on our opponent and to have a better position. Okay guys, that's it for this video on how to think like a grandmaster. I hope this helped you. Now, just a small reminder, I've started this YouTube channel only very recently, so let me know in the comments, was this too hard? Did you not understand something? Would you like more examples to think like a grandmaster, how to simplify your thought process? Or what else would you like to see on this YouTube channel? I'm here to help you improve your game with actionable and actually no BS chess advice. So let me know in the comments what you like to see. Click like, subscribe to the channel to not miss anything, and see ya in the next video.